How's it going, YouTube? My name is LBNinja7, your resident Mistweaver monk and favorite WoW healing content creator. Guys, today we're going to take a look at the newest tuning that was announced. It will happen on this next weekly reset, so December the 19th for us NA folks, December 20th for you EU folks. And there's quite a bit of healer tuning coming to us, and it's all actually quite positive. Pretty solid changes. Let's go ahead and get into it. So we're going to just go down the list in alphabetical order. And starting off, we're going to talk about Preservation Evoker. So Preservation Evoker is getting some treatment to their Resonating Sphere. You guys know this spell. It is what shoots out an orb that applies a shield to people that it passes through. But the good part about it that was abused in the past was that it applies a weakened echo to the first 5 people that it passes through. Now, for a while, I believe it was in Season 2, they were really good. They were a really solid healer, so they nerfed this down to hitting 3 targets or applying 3 echoes to the first 3 people that it applies to. And this was, at the time, received very poorly. I remember, all the evokers that I know were pretty upset about this because this was a very core rotational ability that applied a lot of power to this class. And finally, it looks like the developers have kind of seen that it was a little bit heavy-handed. Jumping from 5 to 3 was huge, especially when Mistweaver monks had just gotten a change that was Shaylun's Gift now had a talent that could bump it from 3 to 5. Because 5, as you know, is a big number. It's a big threshold in targets that you hit because of Mythic Plus. If you're just hitting 3 and then go to 5, I mean, it just gains so much power in Mythic Plus because now there's no RNG behind it. You hit your whole party every time if you can, I guess, aim this one correctly. And they 100% agree. Now, this will also give them a lot of power in Raid. I mean, this change is designed clearly to help their Mythic Plus performance, which is, it's performing pretty well in Mythic Plus. But let's go and look at the Raid meta just as a refresher. And this is just a throughput chart. But you see they're down here toward the bottom. They have a very low bottom end and a pretty solid top end. That top end will probably be more in line with these 3 than it is with these 2, or I guess Paladin at this point. After this change, so great. It will not break them. This will not break them, but it'll push them to a higher standard, and that is a great change in my book, and making them more reliable in Mythic Plus, which is great, an excellent change. So big thumbs up to Preservation Evoker. I'm glad they're finally touching this class, even though in the past I've said I hope they don't touch this class because they were performing well enough. But this is a great change, just a great change, making it more reliable and more powerful at the same time. And then next up, we're already coming down to Windwalker got a bunch of changes, but we're going to talk about Mistweaver today. By the way, great changes, developers. But Mistweaver, so Unison now heals a second injured ally for 35% instead of 50%. Notice that these 3 changes do not apply to PvP combat, just PvE. But Unison, let's talk Unison. So at the start of the season, they buffed Soothing Mist, which is how Unison works. If you Soothing Mist a target, Unison just basically says you're going to Soothing Mist another target. And that bonus is doubled if you use Summon Jade Serpent Statue. If you Soothing Mist someone, then Summon Jade Serpent Statue is going to Soothing Mist that target, and then both of you are going to have a Unison target. So that's why you can get so much free, it's literally free passive healing, as long as you at least tap Soothing Mist once every couple of seconds to reapply that. But when they buffed Soothing Mist, it inherently buffed Unison. Now, honestly, we're going to look at a log, but honestly, Unison was not insane. It's not insane. It's just that it's a for sure, yes, you take this talent because it's free throughput and it's free solid throughput. I mean, it's going to hit someone that needs healing, so low overhealing, and it's just going to heal for a solid amount because it's half of a Soothing Mist for free, and it's free, especially if you take Summon Jade Serpent Statue. However, let's look at how much healing it's actually doing. This is all the logs that we're going to look at today are from Mythic Volcaros, and they are the top log of that class, except this one. This one is the top log that's specifically playing with an Essence font build, but we'll get into that. So if you look at this log, you'll notice that there are a lot of healing sources. Mistweaver does benefit from a lot of different healing sources, but let's go down to Unison, the one that's actually getting nerfed, and it is a 30% nerf. Since it's going from 50% to 35%, It's a 30% nerf to this healing source. But it's 30% of a healing source that's honestly not doing too much healing. I mean, the uptime on Unison is always going to be high because we are playing a build that we press Soothing Mist very often. So for Unison to only contribute 4,500 HPS, it's only a little over 1 million HPS. It is kind of shocking that they're still nerfing this. And this is also a keystone talent. It's at the bottom, or a capstone talent, whichever one of those words. It's at the bottom of our talent tree. So it's got to be exciting, right? Talents at the bottom of your talent tree have to be exciting and powerful, right? Apparently not, because they're gutting this. I mean, it's you'll still see people take it because, like I said, it's just free throughput that you're gonna get. But it quickly, after this nerf, it's quickly going to get overshadowed and overpowered, or it will be overpowered, not be too strong. You guys know what I mean. But for example, let's take a look at what are, the other things that you might take. Legacy of Wisdom makes your Sheilun's Gift now hit 2 additional targets. So instead of hitting 3 targets, it's going to hit 5 targets. Let's quickly do some napkin math and see how that's going to affect this. So Sheilun's Gift had 6 casts and did about 5 million HPS by only hitting 3 targets, because this player was not taking Legacy of Wisdom. So what if it hit 5 targets? Well, all of a sudden, you can take 2/3 of the healing that you did with Sheilun's Gift and just add that on top of what you're doing. So take 2/3 of this and then add it on top of the healing that you were doing, which would be 3.2 million, I want to say. Maybe I shouldn't do math on the video. But so add 3.2 million on top of this. Now all of a sudden it's doing 8 million healing if you just took Legacy of Wisdom in this build. And that's very rough because obviously maybe in these situations Sheilun's Gift only had 3 people to heal. But just rough math shows that all of a sudden you just swap out Unison for Legacy of Wisdom and you're getting more HPS. You're getting 3 million HPS as opposed to 1.2 million HPS. So maybe the right answer was already to take Legacy of Wisdom over Unison, but now it's like this just, to me, just says why are they doing this? It's at the bottom of our talent tree. It's not really fun to play with. It's just a passive talent. And it doesn't really do insane healing. Why are they nerfing this? I don't know. The answer lies on this chart. I'll go ahead and tell you. They are trying to just slowly nerf this Mistweaver, but trying to keep it relevant in the meta. So they're applying all these small nerfs. And let's keep into the small nerfs. So then they've also nerfed Enveloping Breath again. Again, they've nerfed this ability so many times, but nerfing it by 10%. Once again, let's come to the healing charts. Look for Enveloping Breath. I'll start from the bottom because I guarantee you it's very low. Now, this happens when you cast Enveloping Mists while you have Yu'lon or Chi-Ji out. Yu'lon or Chi-Ji will breathe onto a couple targets and apply a buff to them that it buffs the healing that they take, but also this is a small hot. And I say small because, yeah, they've nerfed this really hard. And you see here, it's also just doing under 5% of your healing. So you take away 10% of that and it's still just going to do under 5%. But once again, I mean, these are 2 very small healing sources. When you look at some things that we're really playing around, like we're playing around these abilities up here. Basically everything above the totem, the seedling, this is our core build. The rest of this is just going to happen. Like we're just going to heal ourselves with Expel Harm. We're just going to Life Cocoon someone every now and then, get some good healing from that. Jade Serpent Statue, Unison, Soothing Mist, all that's just passive basically, except for Soothing Mist. But all of this is just passive stuff that's happening. And honestly not contributing a ton of healing. So very weird change. But even weirder is the next nerf. Nerfing Essence Font Healing by 8 more %. They just keep nerfing this ability. If you remember, at the start of 10.2, Essence Font saw huge buffs because no one was pressing it. There was no incentive to press this button. It cost 18,000 mana. It channels for a long time, so the only way to get good efficiency out of channeling it is by using your Thunder Focus Tea buff on it to channel it twice as fast. They nerfed Mana Tea, which was how we were reducing this to an efficient mana cost. And they've nerfed not only its healing before, but the talent Upwelling that increases its healing even further. So now they're nerfing it even again when already a lot of top logs are not playing Essence Font. We just aren't. We've swapped off it already. It's like, guys, you did it. You made it irrelevant again. here we are. We found a log that did use Essence Font, did use their Thunder Focus Ts on Essence Font. Now, I will admit that with 7 casts, doing 7%, almost 7% of your healing, 6 million healing, almost 1 million healing per cast, I get it. That's a lot. That's very, budgeted, I guess is a good word. But this also, you have to keep in mind, they're using a lot of buffs to this spell. Like I said, buffing its mana cost or nerfing its mana cost, however you want to look at it, by using Mana Tea, cutting its cast time in half or channel time in half by wasting a Thunder Focus Tea buff, which is huge, on Essence Font, and also stacking up Upwelling by not pressing this button for a long time. So yes, the casts are low, but it's to use the Upwelling talent that's already seen a nerf. So yes, you look at a log that uses Essence Font, you look at one that doesn't use Essence Font, the ceiling is already higher on the one that doesn't use Essence Font. But I will say, we are just seeing how much healing Essence Font does itself. But there is also like another little added bonus to this chart. If you think of it like a priest, like a holy priest, how much damage does a holy priest bring to a raid? Oh, only a little bit? No, really they bring a lot because they bring PI. Essence Font kind of has a similar effect because it buffs your mastery proc, which where even is Gust of Mist? It does make your Gust of Mist hit that target twice. So it does also probably have some portion of this healing devoted to it. So it does a lot of healing. I'm not denying that. But the build that everyone's, just swapping to, or a lot of people have been playing since the beginning of the season, is the Tear of Morning build, which relies on a couple things. It relies on the raw throughput of Enveloping Mist, Vivify, and the power of Tear of Morning, because those spells got buffed a lot at the start of the season and just heal a ton. Like, they heal a lot. So one, I expected them to maybe nerf the amount of healing that maybe Enveloping Mist did, because we are cleaving that Enveloping Mist onto everyone with the Renewing Mist and getting a lot of throughput from that. I expected that. But to nerf Essence Font further is like a huge question mark, because now you've basically taken away what you said at the beginning of the season, that you're going to make this spell relevant and pressable again, and just basically taking it off our bars again. Like, why? Some people will still play it, don't get me wrong. A lot of people have enjoyed playing it again, myself included, but now it's just you keep making this less and less efficient. People are going to swap to the build, the Tear of Morning build, that plays the Focus Thunder instead, and put up probably better numbers. So a very big question mark on that part. Like I said, expected nerfs to Enveloping Mist, or maybe even Renewing Mist healing, because that's how you can abuse Chi Harmony. Essence Font does not abuse Chi Harmony, so big question mark. But those are the changes to Mistweaver, and let's go and move on. So notably, we did not see any changes to Resto Druid. They feel like they're in a good spot. They're performing very well in Mythic Plus and very well in Raid, so big up on that. I do think that they have settled after the cat weaving nerfs, and their throughput is in a great spot. If anything, there's just one outlier in the positive direction right now, and that is Mistweaver for sure. And then there's one outlier in the negative direction, which they will address here soon. But also no changes to Disc Priest and I believe Holy Paladin. Maybe those are the only three. But yeah, Holy Paladin not touched. Priest, the only priest that was touched is Holy Priest. So that basically means that they're kind of settling with Disc Priest, hopefully, and seeing where they land, which is good. I think they've touched them quite a bit, and just like give them a couple weeks, let's see where the meta shifts around. Buff the outliers in the negative direction, buff or nerf Mistweaver a little bit, and see where everyone lands. It's good to have one spec healing more, but this is kind of a lot. I mean, this is a big jump. So I'm glad to see that they are addressing this, but just like I said, big question marks. But not touching Disc Priest, not touching Resto Druid, pretty good, pretty solid. But who did they touch? Well, they did touch Holy Priest, and they did touch Resto Shaman. So let's go ahead and talk about Holy Priest. So all healing increased by 3%. Honestly, that's not a lot. They keep touching things by 3%. Like, I don't know what it is about 3%. I think it's like just a small enough buff to where it might not change things. But I would have liked to see Holy get like a 5% healing buff. I don't know. They're very much at the bottom. Now, I've said it in the past, they do bring a lot to a raid group, but not this much. I mean, not this much. That's kind of crazy. Now, I will say, I think one big reason, and I hate to say this to my Holy Priest friends, but one big reason why I think they're not making drastic changes to fix Holy Priest, or their throughput at least, is because Disc Priest is the shiny new toy. You know, last season, Preservation of Ogres just sat at the top of the meta untouched, unscathed, while everyone else was like, well, I kind of want to be up there, you know? And now it's the same thing. Disc Priest is just meta right now. It got all the reworks, all the fixes. They want more people playing it, and they want it to get as much attention as it's getting. It's kind of the flavor of the month, and they want that hype to stay with it so that players don't, you know, rage quit. If Disc got gutted, just imagine Disc gets gutted right now, gets a huge nerf. A lot of people would get mad and just say, okay, well, I'm done for the season. On that same vein, they just want a lot of Disc players to stay on Disc. And unfortunately, that probably does mean, I'm sure they have some analysts suggesting, let's keep Holy Priest at, you know, the bottom of the meta so that Disc can continue to shine. But of course, that's just speculation on my part. Let me know what you guys think about this situation down in the comments below. But yeah, 3% buff to all healing. So every step in the right direction is a step in the right direction. And then a 15% buff to Prayer of Mending, which they are back to pressing again. Apparently, I haven't played Holy Priest in Raid in quite some time, but it does a lot of healing. So great on them to buff a pretty big source of their healing. 8% of this specific log's healing. And then if you look here, 3% buff to 271,000 log. When you compare the same boss, the Volcaros kill, to a Mistweaver log, when that was the top Holy Priest log, and this is not even the top Mistweaver log, I don't know. Hey, let me know what you guys think about this 3% buff down in the comments below. But like I said, every step in the right direction is still a step in the right direction. So keep these coming. Keep these small tweaks coming, or make some big changes. I don't know what the right answer is, but Holy could use more love than this, in my opinion. But next up, we have Restoration Shaman. Now, if you look on the graph, Restoration Shaman is kind of sitting pretty. The thing is, why you don't hear as much hype around this spec as you do Mistweaver, obviously, is this huge gap in the healing. But they are at the top of the healing charts, but they don't bring as much to the raid as a Mistweaver outside of throughput. I mean, Spirit Link Totem is very good. Windrush Totem is very good. I mean, I guess Ankh is good to have in a raid too, but Mistweaver buffs all of your other healers' healing, can give everyone movement speed, but that's not taken at all. Gives everyone basically avoidance, like damage mitigation to AoE abilities, and buffs all physical damage that the whole raid's doing. So I mean, just like, this gap is even furthered by how much Mistweaver does bring to a raid. So yeah, they are lacking in that sense, but their raid throughput is pretty solid. And honestly, their Mythic Plus performance is where they lack the most. They struggle to heal some forms of Mythic Plus content right now because their spot healing just isn't shining as much as it should. And you can see that on this parse. This is the top parse on same fight, Volcaros. 61 combined casts of their two top healing sources, Riptide and Chain Heal. So much healing, then also a couple casts of Unleash Life, I'm guessing to buff the next Chain Heal they cast. But you see here, like, very low spot healing. Healing Wave has 3 casts, Healing Surge has 3 casts. The spot heal champion of Shadowlands is now not spot healing at all, even though their tier set does kind of encourage them to spot heal, but I guess it does encourage them also to cast Chain Heal. So how did they decide to change Shaman? Did they try to buff any of the sources that are at the top of their raid performance, or did they just buff their spot healing? They buffed their spot healing, and honestly, excellent change. So Torrent, which is basically just, it makes their Riptide. Riptide's kind of like regrowth from Druids. It does like a spot heal at first, but then applies a very strong hot. And Torrent is a talent that just buffs that initial heal. It originally buffed them by 10 or 20%, depending on how many talent points you put into it. Now 15% to 30%, so good change. It will help their raid healing. This one actually will touch their raid healing, but it will most importantly help their Mythic Plus healing. If you Riptide someone, you're going to notice an immediate jump in their health bar, now more so than ever. So good change. Good change because, like I said, it double dips in both forms of content, but especially Mythic Plus. And then next up is Healing Surge. So Healing Surge and Healing Stream Totem both got buffed by 12%. So Healing Surge, one of their, I believe this is the less efficient spot heal, but it's very quick cast and costs a lot of mana. It was buffed by 12%. So you probably still, I'm not a shaman expert, but you probably will still see people pressing chain heal more and just spamming chain heal and Riptide in a raid environment, because this does cost a lot of mana. And a 12% buff probably will not make this global cooldown outshine a chain heal global cooldown, but this will help their Mythic Plus performance. This is the spot heal they spam in Mythic Plus when they're doing spot healing. So excellent change, helping their Mythic Plus performance, helping one person bounce back quicker is excellent. And then Healing Stream Totem. Now, if I'm remembering correctly, this is not their 3-minute cooldown, right? Their 3-minute cooldown, yeah, this is Healing Stream Totem, which kind of acts like a little spot heal. Think of this, this is kind of similar to the Druid's new ability, the Guardian, the little tree Guardian guys that they spawn, the little tree ants. You just put down a totem, it'll spot heal 2 people every 2 seconds, which, as you know, shamans are in raid content taking Cloudburst Totem because that stores and bursts more healing when it's relevant. So this does, like, once again, this does not change their raid performance. They are not taking Healing Stream Totem in raid, but now this can help their spot healing in a Mythic Plus environment. So another great change. Now, I did think this was going to be a Healing Tide Totem change. Unfortunately, it's not. That cooldown is very underwhelming in my opinion. 1.5 million healing is not a lot for their 3-minute cooldown. I would love to see this changed or tweaked a little bit more. But you know what? We'll take it. I'm sure every shaman is happy that their Mythic Plus performance is going to be increased by a lot. Their spot healing just saw some very good changes and very much needed. And I am very happy for my shaman friends out there. But guys, other than that, that's all the changes that we're seeing. All in all, like all around, some very welcome changes. Mistweaver did need some nerfs. I'm happy that they didn't nerf the Tear of Morning build, but it is a question mark. It is a question mark how they nerf Mistweaver for sure. Huge Windwalker buffs, although that's not what this video is about. No changes to some classes that did not need some changes, and some preservation buffs that are honestly very solid. Guys, what do you think of these changes? Let me know down in the comments below. And I want to take a second to thank the Patreons of this channel, the patrons of this channel. You guys are what make this channel possible, and I really cannot thank you enough. So if you want to see your name alongside these guys, make sure and check out the Patreon link down in the description below. There are plenty of tiers that you guys can subscribe to, so go check out that link. Or you can go ahead and just hit subscribe, hit like, and comment on this video, and push this video in the algorithm, because you guys know all that sellout stuff helps this channel all the same. Thank you guys so much for watching this video instead of all the other videos that you could have watched. I really appreciate it, and I hope that you guys have an excellent week. I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, take care.